The Cubs signed Michael Conforto. We tell you why it could matter.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We are your team every day. I'm Matt Cozy. I'm a lifelong fan, turning my passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. And joining me today is Joe George, the host of many Locked On Chicago shows, namely but not limited to the Locked On Cubs postcast, which is returning beginning next month as the Cubs start the 2026 season in late March. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Matt. It's good to see you. It's nice to meet you and Sam in person at the Cubs convention. So glad we get to do this again, man. I'm ready for real baseball.
That was a great time. I'm so glad to hang out with you as much as we did. And Joe's also doing Locked On Bears, Locked On Irish from Notre Dame. He did a Locked On episode about my dinner with my family earlier. And so he's everywhere. Later in the show, we continue to count down to opening day by jersey number in Cubs history. Where does Moises Ballesteros fit on this team as he joins camp on Sunday? Other spring training news and notes. And we start with the Cubs signing Michael Conforto to a minor league deal on Monday. The 33-year-old veteran outfielder would get $2 million if he makes the team. Last year with the Dodgers, Conforto was one of the single worst players in all of baseball, slashing 199, 305, 333, and was a -5 in defensive runs saved. Of batters with at least 450 plate appearances, though, Conforto did walk a lot, placing 31st in baseball with a walk rate of 11.5%. And played 7 years with the Mets, a lot of good years with them. Missed all of 22 due to injury, 2 healthy years with the Giants before leaking up with the Dodgers last year. Joe, what do you make first of this late signing?
I was surprised. They've made some interesting moves in the outfield, like between Conforto and then Chas McCormick. It's like, okay, the Cubs clearly feel there's some kind of need just to have extra bodies out there. And maybe like my first inclination, Matt, was, is this World Baseball Classic related? And that's it, where it's just like, say Suzuki's going to be in Japan, PCA is going to be leaving soon. Like maybe they just literally need bodies to get through spring training. And this is what they're going to do. And he's not actually going to make the roster. But you would think that Michael Conforto, who, it was reported by Brian McTaggart from MLB.com that the Astros were interested in him a week ago, that maybe he had options. So then he must feel like there's some chance he's going to make $2 million this year from the Chicago Cubs if he chose to go to, this organization. I'm surprised. I get it's a depth piece, but as you laid out his stats, man, he was bad. He's a bad baseball player.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. If he did have calls from multiple teams, why does he feel like he can make the 2Ms with the Cubs, and or why does he feel like he could play? And I think he could have a bounce back year offensively. I think he could hopefully play league average defense in left field and right field. Also, being able to DH. And I do think the spring training results for a guy like him and all the guys competing for the last bench spot do matter. And same with all the guys competing for the final bullpen spot. But I think the first thing you said, and the WBC insurance-ish, if that's what you want to call it, is an interesting claim. But I think what you first said about, just the Cubs feeling like they have room to grow out there, that seems to be true now. Like, I feel like that's been confirmed with this signing. You have 3 clear guys in Happ, Pete, and Seiya, and then there's some room to grow. You have Matt Shaw, Gold Glove finalist at third, who it seems like he's all but making a full-time switch to right field.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Alcantara was once a highly regarded prospect, hasn't really popped off the stat sheet at AAA, hasn't gotten the big league opportunity. And then you have the 2 non-roster invitees in McCormick, you mentioned, and then Dylan Carlson. So to me, Joe, it is down to it was down to Alcantara, McCormick, Carlson for the last spot. And I think Conforto he's now the other guy to compete for that job.
Yeah, and it since they're bringing in another one too, like having 3 veteran outfielders to come in when you have Shaw, you have Alcantara. Like Alcantara, I think we would all agree it makes more sense to have him in the minors if he's going to be taking regular at bats. And part of me also wondered, is there any conversation about Matt Shaw, having a spot on this roster? Because would it be more beneficial for him long term as you're looking at, Seiya and others hitting free agency at the end of the year? Like, is it more beneficial for him to be learning right field every single day? Like, I can't imagine that Carlson or McCormick have done enough bad this early in spring training. Like, we need another veteran body to come in and add to this confusion of what the outfield is going to be. So I think it means Alcantara's for sure not going to be on the roster opening day. He's going to be in the minors.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, like, is there a chance that Shaw is with them and they have 2 of these veteran? I don't think that's the case, but I'm just like, I just don't understand quite why this is happening, why you're bringing in 3 veteran outfielders just to compete for one spot. It's not a huge deal or anything like that, but they clearly need outfield depth in their mind in the organization. And maybe a guy like Chas McCormick can sit in the minors. He didn't have a great season last year, has, had an up and down career. He's a below average player, like, just to be honest. And you could probably keep him to be in your AAA system.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're looking for a big league bat, and maybe that's where Conforto comes in, as they think he can be that. And he had a 750 plus OPS the year before, and if they can find that, then okay, then I like the move. Like, I don't love it, I don't hate it. I'm just like, why are we doing this? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I like the theories. There's 2 things there for me to follow up on. One, I feel like Matt Shaw going to AAA would be like a nuclear option.
Yeah.
But if Happ and Seiya are going to leave and they were to somehow sign Horner around opening day or before it, then maybe they would pursue something more nuclear like that. Or if Shaw and the backup catcher are the locks on the bench, then maybe there is a possibility of those other 2 spots going to both spots going outfielders.
Yeah.
And something happens with Tyler Austin, who has a technicality in his deal where he could go to AAA, even though he doesn't have options. I couldn't explain to you how that would work. So maybe they would add Conforto and Carlson. They would put McCormick in Des Moines, Alcantara in Des Moines. So yeah, trying to figure this out. Let's keep talking about the bench and, how does this affect Moises Ballesteros? Because, is there anything else on the bench, actually? Let me ask you that we could.
Yeah, I mean,
be too long.
Tyler Austin's an interesting piece to all of this because
okay,
I don't know how you feel. Like, is there who's the other first baseman if Michael Busch needs a day off?
Well, it could be Ballesteros,
maybe,
but I think Tyler Austin's the main guy.
Yeah, so that was my other thought with Conforto.
Amaya, maybe? I have no idea.
Could Conforto learn first base to play once every 3 weeks, right? To not once every 6 days, or Michael Busch is going to play all the time.
Yeah.
But could one of these guys could they audition to be a first baseman too? So that way,
possibly,
if Tyler Austin's not an option for you and you want to have 2 outfielders and then a first baseman, I mean, the bench is, I think it's fine. What I like about the Cubs roster as is you've got Ian Happ, reliable, PCA, reliable. Seiya Suzuki's been reliable in his career. Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Michael Busch. To me, the only real question mark that you have is kind of Alex Bregman, where he's reliable, but he's had a quad injury last year with Boston, a hamstring injury in Houston. he's the only guy who has at this point in his career had significant time missed. So I think what's good about this roster as constructed is it's young enough and they play enough where it's not as relevant for like it is for some teams that like you have a lot of guys that are going to play every single day. So a guy like Conforto can also be a reliable pinch hitter in a situation that, Tyler Austin, Chas McCormick, these guys haven't really done in their career where Conforto has done that for the Mets and the Dodgers and other teams and things like that. So I think the bench unit is fine. I mean, Matt Shaw, you probably have to keep him on your roster, and I would because I think they'll find a way to play him enough. But he has that flexibility where he can play, 3, 4, maybe 5 spots for you if you need to. So I think they're, in terms of depth, they're in a good place now. With or without Conforto, I think it's pretty much the same as it was before the signing.
Another player with a very outside shot to make the team, a non-roster invitee, Owen Miller, who played with the Brewers in 23 and 24, and then only 9 games for the Rockies last year. He did play first base. It was either Monday or Sunday. He would have a very, very outside shot. Well, Joe, you mentioned Shaw. Maybe he's not a lock to make the major league team. I wonder where this all leaves Moises Ballesteros, who arrived to Sloan Park on Sunday, and we begin to answer that next. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post, whether it's the skills, the experience, the location. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Cubs will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Baseball is back, and you could lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes. For the next week or so, you can use code SPRING for a free month. Go to LockedOnCubs.supercast.com or check the link in this episode description. I'm joined by Joe George on today's episode. Joe is returning for Locked On Cubs podcast starting again next month, and has been doing great work all season long and continues to over on Locked On Bears. Please check him out over there and support Locked On Bears as well. Well, there's no other way to put this. Moises Ballesteros is unproven. The Cubs' top hitting prospect is just that, in my mind, still a prospect. And after debuting last year with a total of 66 plate appearances, shout out to Star Wars, he is preparing for his first full season in the major leagues, a season in which he projects to get a lot of chances as the main DH. Cubs manager Craig Counsell did say Sunday that Ballesteros will also see time in spring training, games at catcher and at first base. The projection systems like Mo Baller slotting him way above average as a major league hitter. And in those plate appearances last year, he did hit 298 with an on-base of 394. Joe, first, what is your excitement level on this kid?
It's pretty high. I mean, just what we saw last year, he's got a great swing, and for a big guy, he can move. Like he's got some wheels around the bag. So I'm really excited to see what Ballesteros can do this season for the Cubs. And there's a lot of pressure on him because it feels like he's going to be the everyday DH as long as, now that he's at spring training, that as long as all goes well, he's going to be out there quite a bit. I think it's interesting that they're going to have him catch in the spring because he hasn't done much of that at all in the minors still. First base will be interesting. Could that just be, instead of Tyler Austin, as we were just talking about, Ballesteros is playing first once every 2 weeks, maybe you can do that. If you have a fly ball pitcher on the mound, you feel more comfortable with that situation there. That can work out for you. But I'm really excited. With Owen Casey being traded, it feels like this is the guy that Cubs fans should be excited about the most this season.
Yeah, it's a good call. I'm glad he's still here. I think he could contribute in a variety of ways, but mainly as the DH, it can really have an impact right now in the starting lineup. If the Nationals, and I think Ballesteros and Shaw could be a really nice platoon pair, essentially. Whether that is giving Seiya a day from right and putting him at DH when there's a lefty, and then Shaw and right, and Ballesteros, the full-time DH, Seiya and right against righties. I just wonder if, so I tried to count this today. Council also said Sunday, Joe, that it's likely going to be 1 week before Ballesteros sees game action, meaning he would, in theory, have 3 full weeks of game action before opening day on March 26th, where if the Nationals are starting a righty, he's going to start at DH. And in my latest lineup projection that I sketched out the other day, I have him hitting 8th. But, is that enough time, or does he actually spend time at AAA to begin the year? That seems a little extreme right now, but if he's just casually getting swings in and then he returns to game action, let's say exactly a week from today, that Monday or Tuesday he's playing in spring games. I do wonder if that's enough, and maybe if the Conforto signing, despite him now getting his first workout on Tuesday at Sloan too, maybe that's a part of it.
I think it's a good point. Just is it protection in case Ballesteros needs a little bit more time, and then because you're not going to bring out Contra up for the start of the season if he's being sent down as soon as Moises is ready, right? Like you're not going to burn options on a guy like that. So you bring in a veteran that is working out on his own, probably just because of his experience, doesn't need the ramp up time that maybe Moises does need. Like I think it is a factor in all of this, that if he's just not ready, you have just more protection on this roster of being like, okay, we're fully set to go, in the spring. Because if it wasn't, Conforto, are you good with Tyler Austin being your DH or Suzuki being your DH with Chas McCormick in right field? Like, wow. Now, none of those options really sound great, but maybe Michael Conforto's the best of all of those options.
Yeah, right.
At that point. So I think it's a good one to point out. And, if they do want him to work more as a catcher and at first base, to give this lineup more flexibility throughout the season, like that's another reason too why, like, while we've all penciled him into that starting lineup, that maybe, I would bet he's on the opening day roster. But if their intent is to use him in other roles, like we could see the Cubs say, you know what, hey, we're going to wait an extra 2-3 weeks, let him get started, let him keep working on these things, and then bring him up and have him contribute to the big league roster. And that's okay. Like it's a 162 game season. He doesn't have to be up there from day one. I don't think it's a nuclear option or anything like that, but I would be disappointed if he's not on the opening day roster, because I want to see him swing.
Yeah,
like I want to see him
I
swing.
Think you're right.
It's just, but like, this is one of those situations where, you can't control visa issues and
true
things like that. So it's, if it holds him back at all, like, I don't think it's a reflection of the player necessarily. I think it's just going to be a reflection of the circumstance, if anything.
Yeah, well, I was glad to hear the relief in his voice, because it did seem like it was quite a journey to return. I do want to ask you about Ballesteros as a catcher. I was thinking about it earlier today. I think a very low level expectation. I mean, it's very low number, but like 1 start per month at catcher, like 6 this year. I was thinking 6 to 10. I think he should be able to do that, don't you?
I would hope so.
That's not a lot.
It's not. And, now you're pretty set at catcher. Like,
right. No, so exactly.
You don't need him to. So that's why I think 6 is a pretty good number. I'm trying to think I'm trying to remember how many Schwarber caught when he was still catching back in the day. Like when there was 2 catchers on the roster, And like they would
I think it
occasionally,
was around that number.
yeah, like if it's one a month and emergency break glass situation, or
Yep.
just, hey, like we just got to get him out there, that's fine. And I think what I would do is, if I was counsel, is I would just find which of these pitchers he works with the best. You know,
Great
maybe it's
idea.
maybe it's Justin Steele because he can work throughout all of
Yeah.
his rehab process with them on the side. Like
Wow.
just
Yeah.
just find someone that that likes Moises catching him and being like,
Mm.
okay, this is the only guy you're going to catch for this year. And it's probably going to happen once every 3 starts. You're going to be
Yeah.
behind the plate, but like, because I like the player a lot, but the reality is he does cause some roster problems for the Cubs if you can only catch. Like having the DH is good, but if you have a player, like think back with last year with Tucker, right? Tucker can't play on the field, he can only DH. So let's say you had a situation like that this year with Suzuki, he can only DH. But if Ballesteros is on a heater and playing the best baseball he's ever played, then you're just like, well, what do you do? Like
Yeah.
you don't have an option. So
Mm.
you're limited in your flexibility, and maybe it doesn't bite you this year, but I just think for the long term, having some position flexibility would be nice for him. So yeah, like 6 games a year, maybe 10.
Yeah, 10 would be great. And if they do script it like that, where they have like an assigned day or two a month, I think it's a great idea with a pitcher that is almost choosing Ballesteros is like, yeah, I'm comfortable with them. Like, let's rock, even if it's just very infrequently. So, yeah, I like that idea a lot. Could it be for Ben Brown when he
Maybe.
comes into a game? He pitched Joe on Monday. We're going to get you the details on that, and then the last few days of Cubs opening day countdown by jersey number. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs, the #1 podcast on the Chicago Cubs. We give you everything a Cubs fan can want, all in a 30-minute daily podcast. A few things from Monday's spring training game. Ben Brown started, went 2 scoreless, allowed 2 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Javier Assad, 1 1/3 scoreless, 2 hits, no walks, and 1 strikeout. And after walking 4 on Friday, Porter Hodge was back in there again already on Monday and walked only 1 this time to 2 strikeouts and 1 scoreless and hitless inning. That's 3 really good names right there. I think Ben Brown and Javier Assad like legit have a chance to be one of the more interesting pitchers on the team, just given the Cubs situation and maybe Council's willingness or unwillingness to be creative with some of these dudes. I think Ben Brown is probably the top guy on my sheet for that type of category, Joe. He's a guy who I could absolutely see just facing 3 guys and then he puts his gym shoes on. I could see him making a spot start and going 5 innings, or I could see him doing something in the middle. Where he does 1 time through the order, or he does 6 guys and then comes out. But nice to see him get off to a good start.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting guy to watch this spring because I still
Yeah.
kind of like Ben Brown. I think I'm not like sold on it, but I think I still like
Right.
Ben Brown.
Yeah.
But like you laid it out well. Like whether it's a spot start, 1 inning, you're winning by 6, you're losing by 6, and he's just going to eat the rest of the game. Like you kind of got to
True.
have. I like having someone that's flexible in the bullpen that can just kind of be, look, in any situation, we can throw him out there. If we're in extra inning games and we've burnt through most of our bullpen, he can just kind of suffer for however long this game goes, and we can just figure it out from there, but save bullpen or whatever they can do. So I think he's an interesting name for that. I think he fits that role better than like a Javier Assad would fit for that role. So I think there's a place on this roster for Ben Brown. I have, low expectations. Like you want to see the walk numbers come down. Obviously, you want to see him be more accurate within the strike zone this year. So I think he's one to watch. I agree with making the roster. How do you feel about Porter Hodge going into the season? Because he's another one that I'm not sure where I'm at with him right now because there's so much good and there's so much bad with him.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wait till this weekend to update the opening day roster that I keep tabs on the last update I had done was around the Super Bowl, and I had like Dylan Carlson as the last bench spot. I think I put Conforto on there, and I had Hodge getting the last bullpen spot. I don't know if I would give it to him now or not. Like I want to see how the week plays out because I just think those two spots are going to ebb and flow. Like those are kind of like the March Madness spots, like first team out,
Yeah.
first team in. And what kind of non-roster players would maybe take more attention from us, like Brad Keller did. So there's a lot to wait and see on. But I was already skittish about Hodge, Joe, and I just with 5 walks already in spring training, like I just don't see how he makes the team right now. I think he's going to start in AAA, start the season there out of their bullpen, and I mean, as of right now, Assad's not on the team. Well, maybe he gets that spot or Brown. So there's a lot, or Wicks. So in terms of guys that we've already seen with the Cubs and like have kind of seen not a lot, but a good amount, I think Hodge is facing an uphill battle.
I think he is too, because I know he talked about coming back after the injury last year and tweaking things and getting his mechanics back right. Kind of sounds very similar like with what Shota was going through last year. He's another one where it just might be better for him to start the year in the minors. Just keep working on it and think back to find a way to get back to where it was 2 years ago versus where it's at, last season and then where it's at now. So yeah, he's one that I kind of feel like that last roster spot is between these 3 guys, like in the bullpen. It's one of those 3, and whoever has the best spring training, we all know is hard to really always get a good evaluation on pitchers because sometimes they go out there and they're only working on one pitch or they're using a new pitch that we might never see in the regular season, but they're trying it out in spring training.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is real, what's not real from what we're seeing versus what they're seeing behind the scenes is always kind of tough to get a read on. But yeah, I feel like Porter would be at this moment, I'm with you, but probably best served in the minors to start the season and go from there and hope you can get some semblance of what it was 2 years ago at this point.
And finally, the last time we did the opening day countdown, I believe was for the number 35. We're down now for our Tuesday episode, Joe. It's only 30 days till opening day, which is awesome.
Thank goodness.
But I have a prediction to make because one of the numbers that we didn't do in this gap was 34. Worn by the great John Lester and Kerry Wood. 34 is going to be retired soon, I think.
Yeah. It's one that's worthy, especially now because you can go 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Like you can just be like, hey, this is 2 guys who probably both individually deserve to have their numbers retired. I mean, we were at Cubs convention. Like
both are Cubs Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Like both are Cubs Hall of Famers. John Lester was kind of the star of the show one day. And Kerry Wood was, he's Kerry Wood. Like
he got a huge ovation at Cubs Con when we were there.
Yeah.
Kerry Wood.
Yeah. I mean, it was the pop for him too on Ian Happ's podcast was huge. He was a guest. I went to that one. And yeah, I think I like that prediction. 34 will be a good one. Like it's a number that, having 2 guys where like, I know that you can't retire every number, but when you have 2 guys that were so important to your franchise at various different points, I think that's a good prediction. I like that.
And there's precedent with Maddox and Fergie.
Yeah, exactly.
With 31. So, all right. Joe, I really enjoyed this, and you're going to be with me in a few weeks as well. And of course, on the Locked On Cubs channel a ton. So it's good stuff. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. For those of you on video, we're about to send you to the 24/7 national Locked On Podcast YouTube channel, and on audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On MLB, where Sully takes you through a baseball journey every day. Now a second show on that channel, Back to the Bullpen, with Brett Chansey and former Major League pitcher Mike Stanton. He's Joe George. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.